and welcome to Soulful Sunday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live right here on YouTube. Moderating today for us are the lovely Honeypaw and the lovely Heather, and also the lovely Dre. Thank you so much, moderators, and thank you so much for everybody for joining us today. We are here today, and we do have a premiere right after this, and the premiere today is a short one, but I hope you can join us for that. It's the audio booklet version of the Shekinah booklet, so I hope you can join us for that. I think it's about maybe 15 minutes at most, so it's not a big time commitment. Let's see, what was I going to tell you? Oh, you know what? I don't know. Well, hopefully I remembered to put the I don't know if I did. It should, at the end of the exit music, dump you right off into the watch page for today's premiere. But if it doesn't, just go right on over to our main page on YouTube, and it should show up there. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And when you hit the notification bell, we don't hit it too hard because you don't want to bruise it. But when you click that notification bell, make sure you choose all notifications, and that will make sure that you are aware of anything that we've got going on, be it a new upload or a premiere or a live stream. Our website's located at arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. Just go over there to get anything that you like from Ariel's Corner. We have free courses, full-length courses. We've got booklets on all kinds of stuff. Those are all free. We've got guided meditations. We have a lot of recorded lectures, articles, and just a plethora. And it is all free. We never, ever put anything behind a paywall. So you will notice that you can be a member of our YouTube channel if you'd like, but that's just just to give you an opportunity to support the channel. You don't get anything special when you become a member, except for our gratitude. Another way to support our channel is with a donation. You can donate by going to paypal.me/arielgatoga. paypal.me/arielgatoga. If you don't like PayPal and you want to use a credit card or a debit card or another kind of Apple Pay or something like that, you can find a link on our website, arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. Just look in the footer of any page and you'll see a little PayPal link. While you're there, in the footer or header of every page, you'll also notice links to all of our social media, including our private Facebook group and our Discord server. We'd love to have you be part of our community. We have a good time. Our community is also available right here on our chat thread on this live stream, so chat amongst yourselves. The moderators are amazing. They do an excellent job. But sometimes it's easy to miss somebody if you come in, and it's not only that the moderators are missing you, it's just that sometimes YouTube isn't perfect about showing everything, and we don't know why. So if for some reason you don't get a response, it's not because somebody's ignoring you, it's because they didn't see you. So just keep posting. Eventually it'll show up. And just as a FYI, I don't chat in the live stream chat threads. I'll usually say hello at the beginning, and I'll say hello at the end, or goodbye at the end, but I can't sit there and chat because then I'll forget what I'm talking about. So I don't even look at the chat thread. So if you think I'm ignoring you, it's not that at all. So we love having you here. Oh, let's see, what else was I going to tell you? Something fabulous, I'm sure. I think I said everything. I don't remember. Well, if it comes to me, I'll talk to you about it later. All right, let's get going. If you are in a place where it is safe and appropriate for you, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering the body and the mind. With every exhale, let go of all the tension in your body, along with anything in your mind that you do not want. Inhaling peace and exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, and it lights us and the grove with a sacred golden light. This is the light of perfect love and perfect trust. It burns away everything unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We also call upon our angels, our guides, our teachers. We ask that they guide us as we walk upon the way, helping us to become happier, more peaceful, more magical, more powerful, and more loving people. Blessed be. The ego mind is a tyrant by nature. And you can look in your own body, mind, emotional being and just notice the tyrannical nature of the ego and how we move through our days from one sense of torture to the next. And we've been taught that there's nothing we can do about it. We've been told that we just have to deal with how bad we feel. Sometimes we even get to the point where we are numb to how we feel, and we just don't experience the things that we're experiencing, not because we've purified ourselves from them, not because we're freed from them, but because we are suppressing them and we are numb to them. The ego's main tool is fear. And this is why when you are experiencing any of the fearful emotions, you know that you are allowing the ego to be in charge. And when the ego understands that you understand that, when you notice that the ego's in charge, the ego, sly as it is, sly little devil, it will try to make you feel bad for letting the ego be in charge. So the best thing that you can do to deal with the ego is notice it and disregard it. Notice it and disregard it. Don't react to it. Don't converse with it. Don't get in a fight with it. Let it go. Now, we can look at the idea of emotions and our emotional body, our emotional self is the barometer that we can use, or the gauge that we can use to decide and understand which part of our mind is in control. And if we divide the emotions into two types, there's love and there's fear. You can tell which is which based on the tension that you experience in your body. If the emotion is allowing you to relax and be at peace, you know that your emotion is under the general category of love. If the emotion that you're experiencing causes tension and causes discomfort, then you know that the emotion that you're experiencing is under the general category of fear. And I say general category because sometimes we think joy, and that's still under the category of love. It's a loving emotion. It's a relaxed, pleasant emotion. And we think, well, anger, well, that's under the category of fear because it's a tense emotion and it's an unpleasant emotion. Some people will disagree with that. They'll say, no, anger feels good for me. Well, if anger's feeling good and is actually relieving tension, it's probably not true anger. It's probably more righteous fury, and it would be under the category of love. But you have to really be honest with yourself because the ego loves to gaslight you. That's what we gaslight ourselves more than anybody else gaslights us. We gaslight ourselves constantly. And that term, gaslight, comes from a movie called Gaslight. And it's a wonderful movie. If you've never seen that movie, I think it was done in the 50s, the early 50s, maybe the late 40s, I can't remember. And it's a wonderful film. And I recommend everybody watch it because it shows what the mechanics of gaslighting are. Making somebody feel like they're insane, telling them that something's not happening when it really is, in order to control them. And that's where that term comes from. And it's not really a technical term psychologically, but it's becoming one. Because this type of behavior seems to be rampant in our society. But it's nothing compared to what we do to ourselves. So the way that we gaslight ourselves, the way that the ego gaslights us, is by telling you that what you're experiencing is peaceful when it's not. Telling you that you're not feeling fear when you are. And the reason why the ego's good at doing this is because it doesn't want you to look at what you're feeling. It doesn't want you to look at the truth. It doesn't want you to see the wizard behind the curtain, because as soon as you see the wizard behind the curtain, it understands on some level or another, even though it is absolutely insane, it understands that by the power of your awareness and your seeing the truth, it will be shined away. It will cease to exist. And it's got its own bizarre survival instinct. And we leave its survival instinct to it. We don't have to worry about it. We don't need to study the ego. We just need to understand when we're under its spell and choose differently. And one of the ways that you can do that, one of the fastest ways you can do that, is through emotions, is by being aware of what you're experiencing emotionally. Some of us go through life with general malaise. We generally feel bad. And if we don't feel as bad as normal, we call that feeling good. We go through life putting up with these fearful emotions and then pretend like we're not feeling them just so that we can get through our day. Because if we couldn't pretend like we weren't feeling what we were feeling, we wouldn't want to even get up out of bed. Most of us, when we wake up in the morning, we feel awful emotionally. But then we have to talk ourselves out of that just to get out of bed and move through the day. And what the ego does understand is that if you suppress an emotion, it gives it more power. So by feeding you these false ideas that it's okay, you can ignore that feeling and get through your day and it'll go away. It gives you this idea that if you can just suppress that emotion outside of your conscious awareness, it's going to go away and it won't have any more power over you, knowing full well that it has all the power over you. And then when those suppressed emotions start to appear in our lives, since we are unwilling to experience them and unwilling to purify them for ourselves because we're afraid of them, those emotions show up in all kinds of interesting ways. They show up in relationship problems, they show up as arguments, they show up as financial catastrophes, they show up as health problems, general stress. And we are masters at displacement. We displace the emotional experiences that we are unwilling to confront onto everything outside of us. We project it. They are bad. That is bad. This is the reason for my discontentment. That is the reason for my discontentment, etc. And that's exactly where the ego wants you. Because if you're projecting and blaming your general malaise on everything outside of you, you're never going to look at what the culprit is, and you're never going to be freed from it, and then it's done its job. Remember, the ego's job is self-destruction. The ego's job is to prove to you how separate you are from your good, to prove to you that you are not good. And it'll do that as subtly as it needs to so that you don't question it. Because if the ego comes out with too bold of a statement for you, and and you've got some level of sanity, some level of mental health, you're going to say, no, I don't believe that. Right? So it loves to just keep it barely super subtle, just barely under the level, under the surface, so that it doesn't get busted. So when you're starting to understand this, and we're going to talk about examining our emotions in a minute, when you start examining your emotions, we need to understand that mild annoyance is no different than major annoyance. The need to verbally snipe at somebody and say just kidding is really no different than wanting to murder them. It's just that we're not willing to see the full extent of what that emotion is saying to us because we don't want to look at it. So when you understand that, there's no minor annoyances. You can't be sort of upset. That's like being a little bit pregnant. You're either experiencing love or you're experiencing fear. There is no spectrum. There is no spectrum. The ego lives in this idea of spectrum. That's the metaphysical occult meaning for the idea that the demons are legion. There's just, if the ego can keep you busy categorizing your experiences and looking at degrees of upset, it's got you busy doing insane activities, involved in its own insane activities. Instead, once we come to the realization that it's either love or fear, there's no small fear and big fear. There's no small love and big love. It's just one or the other. Once we understand that, our job becomes very simple. And what those emotions then become for us are a system of guidance. They're like a GPS. And when we're experiencing fear, we understand that there's a fearful thought. When we're experiencing love, we understand that there's a loving thought. And when we are experiencing an emotion that is unpleasant, rather than believing that there's nothing we can do about it except for suppress it or pretend it's not there, we then start to accept ownership of our power. These emotions are coming through me. These emotions are coming through my body, through my mind, through my emotional water body. I have purview. I am in charge. I'm the powerful one. Nobody ever teaches us that we have power over our emotional body. Nobody ever teaches us that. It's just you got to live with it. You got to live with it. You got to live with the tyrant. You've got to live in slavery. That's just all there is to it, and nothing that you can say or do will change it. Even some of our psychology is into that. No, it's just you can't do anything about your emotions. They're just there. You have to learn how to live with them. And then what we do is we learn how to face them and be tortured by them. Live in the torture and just accept that that's as good as it gets. When the reality is that our emotions are ours to I don't want to say control. I don't like the word control. Our emotions are under our purview. We are the boss. Now, dealing with a negative emotion is not as hard as it sounds. When you have a negative emotion, you don't need to necessarily figure out what happened, in your past that's causing this trigger. You don't necessarily need to do a past life regression to understand how when you were Cleopatra, this thing happened and is causing you a trigger. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to locate where you're feeling the emotion in your body and relax. Relax the tension. Relax the tension, and the way you relax the tension is through just taking some nice deep breaths. And one of the easiest and most profound ways to do that is by counting your breathing and having your exhale be twice as long as your inhale. So you just, and you don't have to control it at first as much as just notice what a comfortable breath is. So if you're experiencing a lot of upset or even a little bit of upset, any kind of fearful emotion, notice where it is in your body and then take a breath and just count in your mind just to see how your natural breathing is right there. And then leave the count as it is for the inhale, but then double the amount of counts for the exhale. So if you're in there and you notice that I'm like going, because I'm so upset, so that's 1, 1, 1, 1 is my breathing. So then I'm just going to go 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Just that for a few cycles. Pretty soon I can go inhale 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the exhale. And after a while, I can do inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. And I just keep adding that, just keep letting it happen until I notice that I'm feeling better. And then I just notice that I had control over that. I had control over that emotion. And all I had to do was change the way I was breathing. So that whole lie that the ego has been telling me my whole life, that I've just got to live with it, nothing I can do about negative emotions, just got to live with it, that tyrannical behavior was just destroyed, was just dissolved, just by changing my breathing and making a new decision. Now, once I've calmed down and I'm experiencing that sense of peace, then what I need to do is listen to my thoughts. What am I thinking that's drawing me into this emotional reaction, that's drawing into this emotion? It's usually I'm upset about something. So I can just as easily change my thought about that while I'm breathing. So for instance, let's say I hear on the news something awful going on in the world. Is, just some awful, horrible thing. And my mind starts racing, thinking, oh my gosh, we're all going to die. And then I get all upset and angry and upset and angry. Well, I can do that. I can go around being upset and angry. I'm free to do that. But if I don't want that, I have a choice. First and foremost, I can turn off the TV. Because me being upset and angry about something in the world that I don't have any direct control over is not worth me being upset about right now, because that's not going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. So I'm going to get my emotions handled first, and then if there is something I can do, it'll be revealed to me when I'm in a sense of peace, because that's when Spirit speaks to me. And that's true for everybody. So I turn off that television, and I do the breathing that I just described for you. I just notice where my breathing is and just double the exhale for a while until I can just then slow the whole breathing down one little bit at a time. Feel that peace, feel that relaxation, and then notice what my thought is. Notice what my thought is about whatever this thing is that's causing me the upset. In this case, I'm afraid that I'm not safe in the world. And then I can just change that thought. I can say, I am perfectly safe. The infinite intelligence is with me, guiding me and protecting me in this moment. I am safe. All is well. Maybe you do Psalm magic and you can do, maybe a verse out of Psalm 91 or Psalm 23, something like that. Or just having a nice, easy, gentle affirmation or statement of truth about your safety. Here and now, I am safe. And then I'm allowing myself to transform that emotion in the moment. And then it's my job to take that safety with me out into the world. And then I have a choice. Now, what am I going to do about this? Knowing that I'm safe, knowing that I am protected, what am I going to do about this thing that upset me? Is there something I can do to contribute to the betterment of this thing? Maybe I'm going to get involved politically. Maybe I'm going to get involved with some kind of group. Maybe I'm going to light a candle for peace. Whatever it is, whatever I'm led and directed to do by Spirit, to actively put, as we say, feet to my prayers, to make a difference in whatever the thing was that was causing me so much upset. But not allowing the tyrant to take over and not just punish me for being alive, which is what the ego's game is. The ego will give you reasons why you're not good enough, but it will never tell you the real truth, that it doesn't care why. It doesn't care why. It just wants you miserable. It ultimately wants you to destroy yourself. If you take it to the nth degree, the ego wants you dead. And until we understand that, we're going to keep listening to its nonsense. We're going to keep wanting the carrots that it dangles. All of the nonsense that the ego gives us, we're going to have some sort of investment in it. But once we realize that the ego's job is self-destruction, we don't want anything to do with that. And so when fearful emotions come up, we understand that's part of its self-destructive plan for us. It's time for us to get busy. Not feel bad that we have bad emotions, negative emotions, fearful emotions, because that's the ego's game. Feel bad that you have negative emotions. Have a negative emotion about your negative emotion. But instead of that, we say, I have a choice and I have tools. I don't have to sit here and be abused by my ego. I don't have to sit here and have these negative emotions run me. I can have a say. I can calm my body. I can start to replace that fearful emotion with a loving emotion just by having physical relaxation and peace. And then I can get underneath the emotion, to the cause of it, to the root of it, which is thought, and replace whatever that thought was that is the seat of that emotion with something that is true. Because anything that's a fearful emotion is based on a lie. Somehow it's based on an idea that you're not good enough, or that you're defective, or that you're separate, or that you're vulnerable, blah, 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 blah. When the truth is that you are a shining extension of truth. And you are spirit, and spirit cannot be destroyed. You're not a body. You have a body, but that's not who you are. The only thing that the ego can scare you about is that something's going to happen to your body. But it can't do anything to your spirit. So on one hand, not that anybody wants anything bad to happen to their body, but on one hand, that in and of itself is a relief, knowing, well, ultimately, even if the ego was capable of killing my body, I'm still going to be fine. But just understanding that puts you in a place where you can find the protection that is your birthright to keep your body safe too. But to try to keep your body safe from the thought system that's trying to kill your body or harm you or make you feel bad isn't going to give you the lasting peace that you desire. But finding your connection to the truth that lies outside of the ego's thought system does provide you with all the protection that you need to keep your body safe. And maybe you're afraid about your finances. Well, once you find your connection to spirit, then you have all the power you need to get the money you need. Maybe it's about a relationship problem. Well, once you find that power outside of the thought system of fear that is causing you to spin your wheels about your relationship, then you have spirit there available to heal your relationship and lift up your relationship in the right way. Whatever it is that you need, that the ego is trying to tempt you into thinking, no, you have to listen to me because I'm the only one that can help you. This spirit can actually help you, whereas the ego is never going to help you. The ego is only wanting to destroy you. And you know which part of your mind you're listening to based on how you feel. Are you feeling emotions that are tense and fearful, or are you feeling emotions that are relaxed, peaceful, and loving? And if you're feeling emotions that are tense and fearful, welcome to the club. You're not bad. You're not stupid. There's nothing wrong with you, but you do have a choice. You do have a choice. And it does take work. It does take discipline. It's not hard. It's not difficult, but it is different. And different is so scary for us. We don't like different. Why? Because the ego's taught us that different is dangerous. The ego wants us in the same old status quo. Whereas spirit wants us free. Spirit wants us to know how free we actually are. Spirit wants us to have all of the things that make us happy, to do all the things that we want to do, to be everything that we want to be. And it wants that not only for you, but for everybody else. So the ego is going to keep you busy judging other people, going to keep you busy judging yourself, and keep you busy being afraid so that you never experience the truth and you never experience that freedom, you never experience that success. Even if you are successful by the world's standards, if you aren't doing it from spirit's perspective rather than the ego's perspective, frequently you feel worse than ever because now you're afraid it's going to get lost or somebody's going to take it or that you're going to stumble and fall and everything's going to be ruined. So a lot of us are taught to just not really go for anything too big because that'll keep us safe. And so then we just sit in our mild state of mediocrity thinking, well, at least nobody's coming after me. It's all just a game that the ego plays. And it does take some courage to stand up to that. But once you do it, you realize it's just the man behind the curtain. The ego has no power. There's no power. That fear that we experience is nothing. And we do have all the power over our emotional body. We do. It's just that we're so used to and we are so accustomed to living in a world of fear that when we even get a glimpse of a world of peace, when we get a glimpse of a world outside of that world of fear, it is so different, we're afraid it's bad. So we don't just go there. It's easier for us to just complain that we don't have peace. It's much easier for us to complain how bad the world is than to actually experience that world where we don't have the fear. Even just for a few minutes a day. Even for just a few minutes a day. It's excruciating if you're accustomed to being part of the ego's thought system. It can feel excruciating to feel peaceful, to feel serene, to feel at one with your good. That's why sometimes it's best to start with just, 60 seconds and then maybe try 2 minutes, the next day or the next couple of days, just to expand that feeling of peace and certainty of your connection with spirit little by little, because it can feel overwhelming, and it can feel like something that we want to label as uncomfortable. Because we're so accustomed to feeling bad. And we've always been taught this is the way it is. We've gotten used to it. We almost enjoy it. We've made up societies to accommodate that. And anything that comes and says, you don't need to feel bad, is seen as a threat to the ego. So we believe that it's a threat to us as well. And so we tend to say, no thanks. We tend to kill that and go back to our misery. And that misery, that fear that we experience, like I said earlier, if it got too bad, then we might question it. And that's why, for the most part, it is like the frog in the water. The ego starts very subtly and brings up the heat little by little by little. And even that you can say no to. Even that we are each complicit in saying and allowing. that tyrant to thrive within us. So if we say no to our own tyrannical minds, and we say no to our own temptation to just stay in the hot water and to allow that temperature to keep rising, there might be some resistance that comes up from our egos. And that's why it's so important to have some sort of a regular spiritual practice in place. Because if you are accustomed to even just a few minutes a day, trying to get it to at least 5 minutes a day is a smart idea, where you're sitting in the presence of the peace and the truth and the freedom of spirit. What happens is you then have a relationship with that part of your mind that you didn't have before, that you're capable of moving into at will when you are threatened by the ego mind, when you're threatened with fear. And a lot of people think that sounds really dangerous. Yeah, but if I get rid of all my fear, I might get attacked. I might get hit by a car because I'm not going to have the fear. And that type of fear that you're talking about, that's there to keep you safe, is not from the ego. That kind of fear is not from the ego. That's part of your GPS. Occasionally, you do need to have that little just to get out of the way. But that what we label as fear is a survival. Is part of the software for your good that you were given when you were created. But that kind of fear doesn't come up too often. And you don't need it as frequently because you're less prone to the kinds of mistakes that put you in the way of the oncoming vehicle or whatever. Because most of the time, the reason why you didn't look where you were going is because you were so obsessed with how bad you felt, or you were off on some tangent, thinking in your mind about something that wasn't good for you. But once you are accustomed to leaning into the spirit rather than the ego, the need for spirit to wake you up with those momentary fear responses become less frequent. So understand that the fear that comes about in order to keep you safe is not the same fear that we're talking about with existential fear that the ego brings us. Because the existential fear that the ego brings us will show up in all kinds of ways. It's not only just being scared. The fear response will show up as anger. It will show up as attack. It will show up as depression. It will show up as any emotion that is uncomfortable and tense. Whereas the emotion of spirit, which is love, is always an emotion of peace. You're capable of feeling at peace, no matter what's going on around you. No matter what's going on around you. And when you are in that state of peace, regardless of what's going on around you, you are invoking protection, safety, prosperity, joy, happiness, and your very presence starts to change what's going on around you on some level or another. So there's really no downside to moving into peace and to purifying ourselves of these negative emotions. But like I said before, we have just become accustomed to them. And some of us have never experienced a day, a moment, without one of those emotions, those fearful, tension-ridden, gloomy, awful emotions. And when we get a glimpse of it, like I said before, when we get a glimpse of it, it feels good, but then we're afraid that we're more vulnerable if we drop our fear, if we drop these negative emotions. We feel like somehow everything is going to be worse, not better. But it never works out that way. And so I invite you to just take it slowly. Slowly is holy, but to take it one day at a time. How much can I allow myself, no matter what I'm experiencing, to relax and to find the thought underneath whatever the emotion I'm experiencing, and to transform that thought into something else, to something that's closer to the truth. Because if it's a fearful emotion, it's not the truth. It's not the truth. A lot of times we feel guilty. That's where our fear comes from. Remember that guilt demands punishment. So if you're feeling guilty about something, you are automatically fearful because you know something bad's coming your way, because that's what you deserve. And you may have objective reasons to feel guilty. You may have done something to cross someone. You may have done something that you feel bad about. But if you're not doing it now, it's not happening. And no matter what you've done in your past, you deserve forgiveness. You deserve grace. You deserve peace. Now, we're not going to go into all of why sometimes it's a good idea to clean up your mistakes and all of that. That's a talk for another day. But do know that no matter what you think you've done, or for what reasons you have that you feel guilty, what reasons you have for feeling guilty, they're not valid, and Spirit doesn't see it that way. Spirit loves you no matter what. No matter what. And from Spirit's point of view, whatever you feel guilty about never really happened anyway. So in this world, yeah, you do have to go clean up your mistakes. You do have to make amends. You do have to apologize. All of that. Yes, I agree. But you still don't need to live in guilt. You still don't need to live in fear. You still do deserve the grace that everybody else deserves. And sometimes it's just as easy as remembering that what we give, we get. So if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling upset, you can take a moment and do your best, like I said, with that breathing, to calm yourself to the best of your ability, and then find somebody that needs your blessing and bless them. Bless them with the things that you wish you were experiencing. Bless them with peace. Bless them with joy. Bless them with forgiveness. Bless them with grace. Forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors is not just a nice thing to do. It's a formula for purifying yourself of guilt and fear. It's a very powerful thing to do, especially when you're sitting in your moments of meditation where you are relaxing and you are feeling at peace and you are feeling at one. Oh my gosh, we got to get going. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Well, I had so much more I wanted to say, but we'll get to it on a different day. I have to end this right now, or we're going to have 2 streams.